Hello, everybody. Today I will be discussing to you the first part of the midterms, which is your Unit 4. And I will be sharing my screen. These are already in your Google Classroom, so just go over the module or the readings, and then we will be talking more about this, and we're going to be having activities about this later on. So Unit 4 is about varieties and registers of spoken and written language. For this for this unit, you're going to at the end of the lesson supposed to distinguish formal from informal language in both oral and written registers. So we have been talking always about, the formality of how to speak properly with other people. So there are times when you have to be formal, there are times when you have to be informal. You also need to differentiate spoken and written register and to adopt awareness of audience and context when conveying your ideas. Remember that in your fields or in your industries, you will be speaking to a lot of people, people from various backgrounds, people from different walks of life, different educational attainment, different social status, different gender. So you always have to be very sensitive, and part of this is because you will be you'll be working in business, or you'll be working in different settings, formal or informal. You also need to know how to adjust the way that you speak with other people. So we start with the word register, and I'm hoping that you already read this unit. Register refers to situations that when you that you can use in a specific these are situations where you are supposed to use a specific variety of language. So it's very important, as I have been discussing with you and emphasizing with you in the first grading or in the prelims. It's very important for you to always consider the context of something. Michael Halliday is a linguist. Please take note of this name, and he categorized register based on context. He was the one who said that register refers to the differences in the type of language selected as appropriate to different types of situations. So if you are in different situations, of course, you will not speak the same way that you speak to a certain situation. If you talk a certain way when you are at home, you have to talk in a different way when you're in the university, or when you are in a meeting, or when you're going to a job application, or when you are in your workplace, etc. Okay? So Halliday identify three parameters that can be used to specify the context of situation where language is used. And those three are: number one, field of discourse; the second one is the mode of discourse; and the third one is tenor of discourse. We're going to start with the field of discourse. From the word itself, field. When we say field, we are referring here to a setting, or we're referring here to a certain positionality, a certain place, okay? So when you talk about field, according to Halliday, this is the total event in which the text is functioning together with the purposive activity of the speaker or writer. It includes the subject matter as one element in it. So the example in your module is refers to the analysis of the parameter focusing on an entire situation. For example, when a mother talks to a child. Okay, so the field here in number one refers to the activities and processes that are happening at the time of the speech. For example, right now, if we are in a physical classroom, our field of discourse is the classroom. Okay, it's a teacher speaking to students, students sitting down listening to the teacher. That is a field of discourse. Okay, the second one is the mode of discourse. So when we talk about the mode, it refers to the function of the text in the event, including therefore both the channel taken by the language, spoken or written, extempore or prepared, and its genre or rhetorical mode as narrative, didactic, persuasive, phatic communication, and so on. So when you're talking about the mode of discourse, it refers to the role and function of language in a particular situation. Okay, so what is the point, or what is the idea behind the use of the language or behind the communication? So a while ago we are talking about the situation in the field of discourse, and right now in the mode of discourse we're referring to the purpose already. For example, what is the purpose of listening to me right now? What is the purpose of you listening to a teacher? It is a teacher explaining something. It's meant to be didactic. Didactic means I am teaching something. So you are listening to the teacher delivering a lesson. The teacher's purpose in delivering is didactic. Okay? For example, when you're going to haggle, yung ano, when you're going to ask for a lower price, you're going to you're going to bargain for a lower price, that's haggling. So when you're haggling, for example, you are persuasive, you are trying to persuade the person to lower the price for you. Okay, this happens when you negotiate also. So mode of discourse is negotiation. Two parties talking with each other, you want to come up with a certain, you want to come up with a certain form of understanding, you want to have one idea about something only. That's an example of persuasion. Okay, so those are modes of discourse. You need to know what purpose the speech or the communication is all about. So it can be a verb, or more or less it's going to be a more or less going to be an adjective. So is it narrative, is it didactic, is it persuasive, etc. Phatic, the word phatic in here, where is that? Phatic communion. When you say that a conversation is phatic, it refer an example here in your module is to contact someone or to keep in touch with someone. So it's more into the connection. Okay, the third one is tenor of discourse. So when you talk about the tenor of discourse, it's also referred sometimes as style. It describes the people that take part in an event as well as the relationships. So these are already the people. So a while ago in field, we are talking about the setting, the situation, saan sila. The mode of discourse is referring to the purpose of the communication process or the communication activity. Why are they doing it? What is the point of the communication process? And tenor already refers to the people who are part of the communication or the conversation. So the tenor refers to the type of role interaction, the set of relevant social relations, permanent and temporary, among the participants involved. So for example, that's why it says in there social relations, and it can be permanent and temporary because for example here in class, the way we are talking with each other is just temporary because you are my students and I am your teacher. But after, for example, 4 years or five, when you finish college and we see each other along the way, yes, I was your previous teacher, but now you're a graduate as well. So we are sort of in the same level. We are like colleagues. So the way you talk to me is already different. All right. It's not the same way that you talk to me right now. And it's the same when you are as a person, when you're in class, probably you are more reserved, you are more quiet, you are not really involved. But once you go home, you are loud or you are talkative or you say a lot of things. Those are parts of tenor of discourse. Okay, it refers to what the person is and who the person is in the conversation or in the communication. So there might be a specific hierarchy between the interlocutors. When we say interlocutors, these are the people who are speaking or part of the conversation. When the head of a business talks to an employee, for example, or they may have only a temporary relationship, when a person asks an unknown pedestrian for for the time. So for example, right, when you talk even if you are in the way you talk to other people, your friends, for example, you're very confident with them, so you are very close. So when you talk to each other, you don't withhold any judgment or the vocabulary changes. But when you are in front of a teacher, for example, the way you talk also shifts. All of those ones are parts of tenor. Or yun nga, temporary, when you ask someone, anong oras na, or when you're talking to a sales lady, magkano po ito, how much is this, how much are these shoes, how much does this ball pen cost, for example. That's a temporary one, that's a tenor of discourse. But that is different when you are dealing with your classmate. Pahiram nga ng ballpen mo, pahiram nga ng sapatos mo, sabihin mo sa kapatid mo, those are different, okay? So in addition, Biber and Conrad define register and genre. That's not genre. That's genre as varieties associated with particular situations of use and particular communicative purposes. So all cultures and languages have an array of registers and genres, and all humans control a range of registers or genres. Okay. Um, there are, according, kindly take note, according to Biber and Conrad, they categorize register based on text. Kaya para sa kanila, there are four major registers. The first one is conversation, the second one is fiction, third is newspaper language, and the fourth is academic prose. So when you talk about conversation, like in the classroom, it can be it's actually sort of informal. So when you talk about conversation, this is more, this is informal. People are more relaxed. It's like a kind of a coffee shop talk where you are talking with someone, in a very intimate manner, for example. So these are examples of conversations, okay? The second one is fiction. So when you're referring to fiction based on text, these are, of course, stories that are written and they are not true. What are they meant to do? They're supposed to entertain. So para kay Biber and Conrad, when you're referring to fiction, this is more narrative. You're trying to tell a story, di ba? Conversation kasi is more spur of the moment, right? Like it just pops out there. But when you're talking about fiction, you are referring already in here to something that is entertaining, something that is narrative, it's storytelling. You like to listen, it's like listening to what is this, to tales. For example, Narnia, right? That's an example of fiction. So it's entertaining, it's fun, there are characters in it, but you know that they are pigments, or these are what is this, products of imagination. Okay. Newspaper language is much more formal. So journalism is always is defined by, I forgot who, by someone who called it history in a hurry, right? So for example, I'm sorry, this is the first example that came to me. The Dolomite in Manila Bay, right? Like it's really stirring conversation right now because it costs more 333 million pesos for the beautification of Manila Bay, but it's not working, or it's something that's already been it's something that it's not actually going to last, right? So these are issues, or these are things that we talk about in newspapers. And if you look into that, newspapers are more informative, right? So they are more informative. Sometimes they also help, they don't just discuss, but sometimes newspaper language is fast, 'di ba? So it's shorter but it's faster. Kasi news siya so you want to read it very fast. You want to go over it in a few minutes only. Okay? You don't want to read this for an hour. These are that's why when you talk about newspaper language in register, it's shorter, it's more informative, it's hurried, pang mabilisan. And of course, academic prose. So academic prose is more this is more into a discussion. So evidences are there. You have a data, you have a method or a process, research method. And of course, you are done with the research in senior high school. So of course, you have your questions, you have your research method, you have your data, and then you have your analysis, which will lead you to your conclusion. So Biber states that these registers share common language features. For example, when we write, we use nouns, pronouns, verbs, adjectives, etc. And when we do that, they are common in all of the four different registers according to Biber and Conrad, but actually the purpose or the way that we use this language is different from each other. All right. So just to give you a final walkthrough, let's go through an example. For example, let's go over coffee shop maybe hmm, shopping. Let's say shopping as an example. All right. So I cannot find one with a sales lady. There you go. So this is I think this is a nice example, okay, for us to study. So registers of language. Let's go back to the register according to Michael Halliday. Field of discourse. So let's describe the three different registers or what is this parameters according to Halliday. So let's look at this photo over here. This is, you can see in here, let's give a brief description. You need to listen properly because your task on Friday is related to this one. So if you look at this photo, for example, short description, there is a lady or there's a pregnant lady even. There's a pregnant lady buying goods from which looks like a grocery, and she's talking to a sales lady. So there that's the context, or that's the story in here. All right, so what is the field of discourse? What is the purposive activity of the speaker or writer? So of course you can say that there's a sale going on. All right, sale not meaning discount, but sale na may transaction. There's a transaction going on. So the lady is buying something, and she is talking or discussing it with the sales lady or the woman in charge. Okay. Mode of discourse, the function of the communication. So you can see that it's probably more into there are many insinuations you can make, of course, because we do not know what they're talking about. We cannot hear them. So you can predict that probably they are talking about the product, or even just saying hello, 'di ba? Like, how are you? How are you feeling right now? Wow, you're pregnant. Your tummy is huge. Like, when are you due? Kailan ka manganganak? So those are good questions, or those are things that they may be talking about. Aside from probably, oh, I love these fruits. There are many things you can think about that. And of course, the tenor of discourse. So the tenor in here means it's already about the style, how it's temporary, because of course they are, well, if you can say that it's temporary because maybe they don't know each other and it's their first time to meet each other, so they're having a small talk. But if, for example, this woman, this pregnant lady, knows the sales lady, for example, or she's been doing her shopping in this grocery for many days already, or for many times, then it's a conversation that they usually have. Okay, so those are things that you need to look into, and I'm going to give you a task on this later on. All right.